Have you ever heard of a woman who led a nation, not with armies or armor, but with wisdom, prophecy, and faith? Her name was Deborah, a prophetess, a judge, a mother in Israel. But before she rose, there was silence. The book of Judges describes those days as dark and desperate. Israel had forgotten their God again. They had turned to idols, and the consequence was captivity. For 20 long years, King Jabin of Canaan oppressed them with cruelty. His commander, Sisera, ruled the roads with 900 iron chariots. Every scream of those wheels echoed across the valleys, reminding Israel of their weakness, and every prayer seemed unanswered. Yet even in the darkest silence, God was preparing a voice. Before we journey deeper into this remarkable story, a story of courage, prophecy, and divine victory, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. Here we bring Bible stories to life for families. Stories that remind us that God's truth still speaks today. Now, let's meet Deborah. Far from the noise of war and fear, a tall palm tree stood between Ramah and Bethel. There, beneath its shade, Deborah, the wife of Lapidoth, sat. She was not a warrior, not a queen, but people came to her, men, women, elders, all seeking justice and wisdom. And as she prayed, she listened. Because Deborah didn't rely on human judgment, she relied on the word of the Lord. In a time when many had forgotten God, Deborah remembered. In a land where courage had vanished, she stood unshaken. And in a culture that rarely valued the voice of women, God chose hers to deliver his message. But one day, as she sat under her palm, a new word came, not for judgment, but for battle. The Lord spoke to her heart.
Go quickly, deliver this
Call
message
for
to
Barak,
Tell him
son
the
of
time has
Abinoam,
come.
from
Yes, my lady.
Kadesh in
I ride at
Naphtali.
once.
Tell him, go, gather 10,000 men,
Thank
and
you.
I will give Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, into your hands. And so Deborah sent for Barak. When he arrived, he bowed respectfully, yet his face showed hesitation. He had heard of Sisera's 900 iron chariots. He had seen what those chariots could do, and the thought of
know the
leading
burden you
farmers and
carry,
shepherds
Barak.
against such power
But
filled
remember
him with fear.
that you do not face this
Deborah,
challenge alone.
he said softly,
If you go with
if
me,
you
I
go
will
with me, I will
but
go.
If you do not go with
But
me,
if you
I
do not
will
go with me, I will not go.
I will surely go with
There was
you.
no anger in Deborah's reply,
But know this,
only
Barak,
resolve.
the honor of this
She looked
victory
at
will
him
not
with
be
the
yours.
wisdom of a mother, the authority of a prophet, and the courage of a leader who
I will
trusted God
surely
completely.
Go with you.
I will surely go with you, she said. But know this, Barak. The honor of this victory will not be yours. The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. The word had spread across the hills like wildfire. Deborah has spoken. The Lord will deliver us. From the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun, men came with trembling hearts and determined faces. They brought whatever they could: spears fashioned from farming tools, shields patched from wood and leather. They were not trained warriors, but they were sons of Israel, and this time they had faith.
Keep the cadence strong
At the
now.
foot of Mount Tabor, the army gathered, 10,000 strong. The mountain stood like a sentinel, its peak brushing the heavens, its slopes whispering of ancient promises. And there, at the front, stood Barak, brave, though his hands still shook. Beside him stood Deborah, calm, radiant, and unyielding.
The hour is upon us.
She gazed across
For
the
the
plain
future.
where Sisera's army would soon appear. Far off, dust clouds rose. 900 iron chariots, glinting like the scales of a monstrous beast. Each chariot's wheel was rimmed with sharp blades, each horse armored for war. The earth seemed to tremble beneath their coming. And yet, Deborah smiled. "Barak," she said, her voice steady and sure. "This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" If Deborah's faith and courage already stir something in your heart, like this video so that more people can discover these powerful stories of faith, courage, and redemption. Now, let's march with Deborah into the heart of the storm. Barak took a deep breath. The sound of the chariots grew louder, but behind him were 10,000 men, and before him, the promise of God. He raised his sword to the sky, and with a cry that echoed through the valley, shouted, "For the Lord!"
Charge!
The men roared and charged down the slopes of Mount Tabor. Their sandals pounded the earth, their hearts beating in rhythm with heaven's drum. The sky began to darken. A wind rose, sudden, fierce, alive. Thunder rumbled across the horizon, and rain began to fall, not softly, but in torrents. The valley turned to mud. The mighty iron chariots of Sisera groaned, their wheels sinking, their horses slipping. What once struck fear into Israel had now become their downfall. God himself was fighting for his people. Deborah stood at the mountain's edge, watching the miracle unfold. Each flash of lightning revealed the courage of her people. Farmers turned fighters, rising in faith. The storm drowned the sound of iron, and with it, the sound of oppression. Sisera's army broke apart. Panic spread. The great commander abandoned his chariot and fled on foot. Barak pursued him through the chaos, his heart burning with purpose. Israel, once silent, once enslaved, was now shouting in victory. And as the rain washed the battlefield, Deborah lifted her hands toward heaven. "The Lord has gone before us," she whispered. The storm had ended, but the echoes of battle still rolled across the land. Bodies lay scattered in the mud, chariots broken and horses silent. Barak's men searched the fields, calling out, but Sisera, the feared commander, was gone. He had fled north, stumbling through the wilderness, breathless and desperate. The mighty warrior who once made Israel tremble now ran for his life, soaked in rain, his armor heavy with mud. And as the sun dipped low, he found a quiet tent among the oaks of Zanaim. It belonged to Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Her people were not at war with Canaan, and Sisera knew it. Surely, here he would find safety. "Peace be to you," Jael said softly as he approached. Her voice was calm, her eyes thoughtful. She welcomed him kindly. "Come in, my lord. Don't be afraid." Exhausted, Sisera entered her tent. He sank to the ground,
Do not be afraid,
trembling.
Commander. Rest here.
I am thirsty. Please, may I have some water to drink?
Jael brought him milk in a skin of goat's hide instead, and covered him with a blanket. As sleep overtook him, he whispered, "Stand in the doorway of the tent. If anyone comes and asks if a man is here, say no." Then his eyes closed. The mighty Sisera, the terror of Israel, slept like a child. Jael sat quietly for a long moment. Outside, the wind whispered through the desert shrubs. Inside, the tent was still. Too still. Her hand trembled as she reached for the tools of her trade, a tent peg and a hammer. Her face showed no hatred, only resolve. She knew, as surely as Deborah had known, that God was delivering Israel that day. She approached softly, the hammer lifted once, twice, and then the silence was broken by a single strike. Sisera would rise no more. Soon after, Barak arrived, breathless from pursuit. Jael stepped out to meet him. "Come," she said, her voice steady, "and I will show you the man you seek." He followed her inside, and there he saw the end of oppression, the proof of prophecy. Deborah's words had come true. The Lord had delivered Sisera into the hands of a woman. And so, in the quiet of that tent, God's justice was fulfilled, not by armies or kings, but by a woman's courage and faith. The morning after the storm was quiet, not the silence of fear, but of peace. The land that once trembled under the weight of iron chariots now rested under the hand of God. The clouds had cleared, and the golden light of dawn spilled over the hills of Israel. Birds sang again, children laughed again, and Deborah, the prophetess, lifted her voice to heaven. Beside her stood Barak, and together they sang, not just with words, but with the power of testimony. Her voice echoed through the valleys, carried by the wind that had once carried the storm. She sang of courage and obedience, of how the stars in their courses fought against Sisera, and how the river Kishon swept away the enemy. Every line was a reminder that when God moves, no force of darkness can stand. And then, her tone softened. She sang of Jael, the woman who struck the final blow, calling her most blessed among women. It was not a song of vengeance, but of victory, a reminder that God can use anyone, anywhere, for His purpose. The people listened, tears in their eyes, hearts burning with gratitude. For 20 years they had known only oppression. Now they knew freedom, because one woman had chosen to believe. And so, Deborah judged Israel for 40 years. Her leadership brought peace, unity, and renewal to a weary nation. She was not remembered for her beauty, wealth, or fame, but for her faith, her wisdom, and her obedience. She proved that God's calling has no boundaries, that He can raise a leader from any place, any background, any gender. And for us today, her story still speaks that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to trust God in the middle of it. If you enjoyed this story, don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, and share this video with friends and family so that the courage of Deborah can continue to inspire faith across generations. For in every age, God still raises Deborahs.